are doing fine. Then, you know, getting some chiropractic, getting some balancing, having their stress taken out, that always helps also. And so if we can maintain all the different aspects of the acupuncture systems, the structure, the nerves, the stress, the hormones, it's unlikely that the person would have any disastrous flu-like symptoms.
You know, went to see you, I actually, myself and I was having a manicure, twisted, having my feet done at the same time, whole body twisted, and having a neck massage. And I remember feeling this enormous pain in my neck. And it was, you know, probably almost 20 years ago when I first went to see you. And you were the first person who had sort of really explained to me what had happened, because I'd gone to other doctors prior to that. And not only, you know, were you able to help my neck tremendously, you also said, don't ever have any more massage there. But also, you know, you really explained to me what was going on, because no one was giving me any answers. And so, but, you know, I'm so sorry. Would you share with my audience here too, just what it is you do actually, like what, give us your bio a little bit so people understand. And I should have asked you that, sorry, when we first got you on, but could you share with us a little bit about, you know, what you do and what you've done?
Okay, well, I'll give my history a little bit first.
Yes,
when
please.
I was 21, I had the lucky, whatever you want, like a divine intervention maybe in my life. And I was connected with Jack LaLanne, who is the most famous nutritionist, famous physical culturist in the world. And I started working for him, and I was trained in nutrition and movement and exercise and mind. Almost nobody knows that Jack LaLanne was a chiropractor. He never practiced, but he was a chiropractor, and he was a physical culturist. And so he trained me, and I eventually became partners with him. I opened up 2 health food centers, health food stores with him. And then I eventually owned 2 health food stores myself, one in Hawaii and Maui, and one here in Venice, California. Then when I got my practice at 30, I went ahead and sold my interests. And then later I built the one for Maui. So I have a different perspective. I have a different education than almost any doctor. I have been trained in physical culture. How do you live life and stay well, mentally, physically, and spiritually? That is different than going to school and learning to be a chiropractor, an MD, a naturopath. It doesn't matter what you train. It's a school thing. I had real life with the #1 top people in the world. So there isn't almost any product that I don't know about, any health food store thing I don't know about. So I'm able to analyze it all. So then in my practice, I decided that I didn't want to just be a back doctor. I didn't want to just be a chiropractor. I wanted to be able to set people free. So how do you set them free? In fact, my prayer was to God, show me, teach me, guide me on whatever I need to know to set people free, rather than I'm going to know how to adjust a shoulder or so forth. And I studied just hundreds of postgraduate courses to be able to do this. So when a person comes in, no matter what it is, like in your case, it's the neck, but I can't remember exactly what we did, but I'd be willing to bet you that I might have found a foot problem or a knee problem or a gut problem or a digestive problem or an emotional problem. In other words, there's no any one thing that causes anything. It's a composite. It kind of, we have to explore what took place. So if you pick up a bag and your neck goes clink, well, was it the bag, or was it what you were thinking about? What happened in the last 3 months before? What's your circumstances in life? What did you eat? We had somebody in yesterday, and they had whatever problem it was. It wasn't a good problem, a lot of pain. And I immediately said, this is from something red you ate. You ate tomato sauce. And they said, no, I didn't eat tomato sauce. And I said, yes, you did, because I'm not wrong. I can feel it. And he said, well, I only had it once. And I said, it had onions in it too. And then that's what he was allergic to. And I said, okay, now you're going to cost you $100 to clear this. So I told you before, you can't eat that. And so there is a composite. Now, no matter what the problem is, I don't care if it's a digestive problem, organ problem, mental problem, there is a stack of things. And what I do is I explore those and then clear them from the person. And that's how we do it. And so
really
there's almost nothing we can't treat.
You know, I'm laughing to myself when you're talking about the tomato paste, because I remember many years ago, you know, I mean, it's not that often. Maybe I see you a couple of times a year. Generally, I'm in pretty good health, but my kids come in obviously more. But I remember one time, years and years ago, I'm talking more than 10 years ago, you said to me, "Do not eat potatoes, Nerida." And I remember, I remember going in to see you again, and it was probably 6 years ago now. And I remember lying on your table and you said to me, "Didn't I tell you not to eat potatoes? When was the last time you ate potatoes?" And I remember looking at you and I thought, "Oh my God, I just ate potatoes last night." And I thought, I know it gives me inflammation in the body. And when I eat it, I feel it in my joints. But I just thought how hysterical that you had said to me, "Didn't I tell you not to eat potatoes?" And it was I mean, you're such a genius. I mean, really, if it's hard to explain to people the type of work that you do. I've, gone to you for so many things. You've also come to my house to check and see just, if there's something affecting, mold, and there's different things. You've helped so many of my clients, whether it be through cancer, just so many things. I can't say enough about the work that you've done. And for my daughter, who I remember taking her to you too. And you said, did she fall when she was younger? Did she fall? She's got a concussion. Did she fall? And I'm like, she did fall. She fell. And I remember the whole thing happening. Yeah. And just how you worked with her with the concussion was just amazing. Could you share a little bit about you work with people that have concussion? I mean, it's extraordinary what you do.
So over the years, when I was figuring out all the different aspects of what causes any condition, I started realizing, because we're not trained in this school, I started realizing that the brain is really where it's at. The brain can decide anything. And so there must be an inhibition in the brain. Now, chiropractic, nowadays there's neurologists and chiropractic neurologists and so forth, but in those days there weren't. But in chiropractic, it's the spine. It's affecting the spinal cord, which fixes 70, 80% of the people. But when there's a head injury, it never goes away. It stays there forever until it's fixed. So many people come in and maybe they have a pain in their knee or the pain in their leg, or a digestive ailment or something. It doesn't matter. And in her case, whatever the issue was, and I don't think it was necessarily physical that we were working on, but I checked her brain. And what I did is I wrote a book, about 300 pages, on about 2,000 tests, instead of just 10 or 12, which most doctors know about. It's 2,000 tests to test the function. Is the brain even working? So it doesn't matter what is what the brain thinks it is. So if it's, I have, for instance, people who have had a head injury, 20 years, they think, oh, they're fine. They come in, whatever the complex is, and I say, it's really your brain. It's not functioning. And I had even one lady, and her brain was, she was allergic to water, so she couldn't drink water. And every time she did, she swelled up. And wow. Now she could drink water if something was in it or if it was tea, but not water. But I eventually traced that to a brain injury, and whatever brain circuits are involved with digestion, with identifying what is what. When I fixed that, then her water issue went away. So I've become a specialist in concussion, specialist in head injuries. In my case, when I was 28, I was in chiropractic school thinking about quitting because I couldn't read, couldn't study, I couldn't remember. And there was an outside lecturer who came, and he talked about the brain. And I went, oh my God, how profound. Nobody in the school, nobody anywhere was talking about that. I immediately flew to San Francisco on his next stop and let him treat me. and he told me I had had a concussion at about 5 or 6 years old. And I thought, well, first of all, I didn't even know the definition. In 1970s, nobody talked about that. I said, no, I was fine. I acted just like the average patient. No, I was fine. I had a normal upbringing. And then he pointed to an area on my head and said, this is where it happened. And then I remembered I have a bunch of stitches there at 5 years old when I ran my bicycle learning into a parked car and cracked my head.
Oh.
I never thought that. He worked on me. He fixed my brain. I went back several times. After that, I literally left and went, oh my gosh, I can read. I'm smart. I can remember anything. It's like he empowered my brain.
Yeah.
So much so that I was a different person. And now I can write books. I can lecture. I can figure out 2,000 tests. How does a brain do that? How does a brain even conceive of this? I was the first one. So that was my experience. So 5 years old, I had an injury that interrupted my high school, my grades, couldn't go to regular college. I had to go to junior college. I had to start over again. And then after he fixed me, it was like everything was open and it was all a concussion. And I see people, just tons of people, who have had brain injuries. One of my biggest ones was I treated an Army Ranger who parachuted. Well, I had no idea, because when he came here with all his problems, I said, boy, you've had like 20, 30, 40 concussions. And he says, well, every time I jumped out of the airplane, hit the ground, I got knocked out. Well, I had no idea that's what happens to these guys. So I fixed all of those. In a week, he was a different person. So that's what we do here. Now, some people, even their digestive problems, even how they move, even how they sleep, everything comes down to some brain injury sometime. And I've had people, they literally can't remember. They say, no, I've never been hurt. In fact, almost every patient says, I've never been hurt. I said, well, you'll remember after the treatment then. One of my biggest ones was that she absolutely denied a concussion. She's an older lady. And I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and treat you for concussion anyway. And at the end of the treatment, she says, oh, I was driving my convertible. In fact, it was right down off the side of your building here. And this man came over from the crosswalk and punched me in the head and knocked me out cold. She couldn't even remember that.
Oh,
and I
my
hear
God.
this all day long that people don't remember their issues. And then they do afterwards. I had one lady, I said, I swear, at the end of the treatment, I said, I swear you rolled your car. She says, well, I did 3 times. Well, I said, half an hour ago, you said you were never hurt. And it goes like that. Oh, and here's a good one. One gentleman came in, and I said, you've had multiple concussions. He says, no, I've never had a concussion. And he was bouncing around the room. And luckily, his wife was here. And she says, honey, you have 2 bullets in your head. Remember when the gang came after you? And also, do you remember when the guy hit you with the wrench and knocked you out cold from behind? And he grew up in a rough part of town. So he didn't even remember. And then afterwards, he said, oh yeah, it's right. The bullet's right here and here. So I'm usually right. The tests don't lie. So when a person comes in, the idea is not just I'm going to think with my intellect. I literally test them. You can either pass a test or you can't. Yeah. If I have a person turn in circles to the left and they go weak and feel like they're going to faint and turn to the right and they're strong, that's a test. And so what I did is I created a test for everything rather than I'm going to somehow figure it out. Because in doctoring, I think 80% of all diagnoses are wrong. So that's a normal thing. So you could come in and you have your neck problem. Well, what caused that neck problem? Was it just the massage? It could have been, but what was before the massage? Yeah. And why did you even have such a hard massage? And so forth.
Yeah. No, it's amazing the work you do. I mean, for all you guys out there, you know, when you go in, Dr. Wagner, he doesn't say a whole lot. And he's just doing his thing, and he's doing all these things on you and just testing you, and he's writing stuff down, and then you get to hear about it all at the end. But I remember something that you did for my son. And again, I'm not sure if you remember this, but my son, many years back, he was walking very pigeon-toed.
Yeah, I remember that.
Sorry. I remember I took him into you and you did your magic, you did your thing. And I remember when my son left, I videoed. He was walking in front of me, and I was videoing him because I could not believe that for the first time I saw him walking straight with his feet straight.
Yeah.
And I was, I was so emotional at the time, and I just couldn't believe it. I got my camera out and I was videoing it, and I still have that video. I just couldn't believe that we were maybe with you for 45 minutes or something at the most, and you had done this. And now, I know that you had sort of prescribed some certain type of shoe for him to a particular brand, which I won't say, but you prescribed a particular type of brand, and now he walks really great. But I just remember that. The things that I've been to see you for. You've always said to me, don't eat tomatoes and things that, without sort of knowing or even asking anything, you just know when you work with the body. And, on top of that too, you're so loving with children. I have a very close friend of mine. You work with animals. I know you've gone to farms and you've worked on cows and horses, and you've always got dogs in your practice too, and they've been, you're just, here I'm like really patting you on the back here, but it's just, I want the audience to know that the different types of things and the amazing things that, somebody like yourself, what you do. And it is very unique. And it's also, it's amazing because the results you see immediately. My daughter always says to me, Mum, I need to go back and see Dr. Wagner. I need to go see him because, she knows. She walks out of there and she feels so much better. And, and for me too, in many different areas, I know that whatever it is that's going on with me, when I go to you, I don't have to tell you what's going on. You tell me what's going on. And not only do you tell me, you fix me, So it's, sometimes I might have to go back a few times. But generally, I walk out of there a different person. And, the importance of having, people in your life that really, you change people, but you don't make people dependent on you. And I think it's so wonderful when you meet, practitioners like yourself that really, empower people. You give us the tools to know how to be better and what we have to do to continue, whether it be, taking zinc and taking vitamin D, and some of these things that you said are very important now with the corona, COVID-19 out there, and just in keeping our immune system strong, or whether it be, in other walks of life. It's important that people understand that, if you understand what's going on, it just makes it so much easier, and you can really, you spell it out, and I've still got pieces of paper that you've written down, and because you hand it to me at the end, but where you've written down certain things, and, and they're really extraordinary, and it's like I say in my life, that I've met extraordinary people, and there's only a handful of them, and you are one of those people that I say is truly extraordinary. And I think that, it's what do I consider to be extraordinary? I consider, people that really want people to be well, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And that's the one thing that you are. I've seen you with children. I've seen you, with, young children. I've seen you with animals. I've seen you, with, professional athletes. Have worked all over the world. And I know that you, you know, your work really is exceptional. And I want people to know that there are people like you out there. I mean, I don't know that many, but, you know, there are people that really do enforce, you know, just keep us healthy. And that is a connection on so many different levels. And you know, you work on all of those. And I just really want people to know that, my audience to know that, because it is, it's rare, sadly, you know. So I want to ask you a couple of more things.
Okay.
I know that, you know, different methods, and I know we sort of skimmed through this in the beginning, because I forgot to come back to you and say, Dr. Wagner, please tell us about, you know, your life. But I know that you've you deal a lot with, you know, healing methods and just staying in your best health, you know, and just, you know, underlying emotions and effects. I mean, is there anything more sort of with stress? And, you know, people are really struggling now on a stress level. And, you know, just whether it be because we're all stuck at home. I mean, even myself, who I didn't even know what anxiety felt like. It's, you know, it's something that I think, oh, maybe I have a little anxiety or something, you know. So, you know, is there some things that you had shared? I know you'd shared, you know, some certain vitamins to take for the corona virus. And if there's, you know, an idea of milligrams, or basically, you know, people probably should sort of just try and come in and see you and just get it all together. But, you know, is there some other things that you can share with us that, you know, just on an emotional level, you know, just some different things that...
Yeah, I can do that. So whenever there's a crisis, it doesn't matter. We're going to call this corona now, COVID. But the reality is, when you kind of reach your barrier of stress adaptation, it almost never is what the subject is. Yes, it's corona right now. But
Right.
What it's doing is it's linking to other things in the past when the patient reached their maximum level of stress adaptation at another time. Could be 20, 30 years ago. It could be childhood. And so what I do is I look for those patterns. I just wrote an article, and it might be on my website, but I wrote an article comparing a virus with belief systems and thought form viruses. In other words,
Oh, I love that.
Or a belief system is no different than a virus, because our brain's like a computer. And if that gets locked in, and these can be incredibly negative, but the patient doesn't have the slightest idea is there. So I'm an expert in finding these thought form viruses. And I've been doing them by phone, because a lot of people can't come in, so I do it by phone, or I do it when they come in. And what I do is I take advantage of this crisis to find the past crises that the person adapted to rather than really clearing in their life. And when I fix the past one, this one doesn't seem like much. In other words, I don't even have to treat this. Now, I just got off the phone with one of my patients. She's in Kentucky, I think. And she was going through a certain pattern of distress, being housebound. I mean, she's right on the brink. But I explained to her how it was related to her past, because I know her past, and related to her hormones, that she thinks that she's at her limit. But in fact, it was her hormones at her limit. I prescribed 3 supplements, just simple supplements, to balance her hormones. And she called this morning to say she feels empowered. How is that possible? Did she change her mindset? I said, well, I did tell you where it's really coming from. And number 2, you balance your hormones. And when you have good hormones, you feel empowered. So you cleared 2. That way I didn't even have to touch her. She can't fly here. And it was a dramatic. It was right before you called this morning.
Yeah, so, really. Nice.
So each person, even let's say you have a business, and in your business you can't open it, your fear of bankruptcy, your fear you can't support your family, all of these things. But even though that is that bad, it is related to something in the past. And if I can find that and we clear that, what that does is it gives the brain a broader scope of figuring out opportunities. In other words, if your business is crashing or something is horrible, what we need to do is we need your brain to be able to figure out how can you adapt, how can you turn this into a positive. But if your brain has a belief system or has a PTSD that is so horrendous that it's blocking your body from seeing opportunities, seeing ways out, then you're just frozen. And when I unlock that, they go, wow. 2 days later, they come in and say, you know what? In fact, here's a good example. I had a 39-year-old in his career. Of course, his career is really upside down. He was fearing total loss. He was out of control in fear, anxiety. I fixed all that. I explained where it was really coming from. I rearranged his circuitry of his body, neurologically and acupuncturally wise. And then within the next week, talking to him each day to see how it's progressing, he says he was able to figure out for the first time a new way to run his business by phone and by computer. And now he's busier now than he was before, and he has greater degree of opportunity because I took out of him or explained to him and made him see that he was highly limited. Forget the limitation of the corona. He was limited anyway, but I couldn't find it, nor could anybody else until the corona came along.
Yes, yes.
And so
yes,
it's a remarkable miracle, really.
Yeah.
Gave him a new life.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know, it's interesting sort of working with the skin and doing what I've done for 42 years. And I see, very often I just see, so much congestion in people down around the jaw area, and the relationship of that, being large intestine for me, it is, and I always say to people, it's, it is holding on to shit, literally, right? And not letting go. And there's certain things that, that really sort of, that tell me a lot about the body when I'm working with it. And what's so great is that, I like to share this with people because it's not always what people think, so it is sort of going in and doing the things that you're doing, that really, that make a major change in people. It's not always, about product, or, it's definitely a lot to do with, the organs and, and whether they're hydrated, just how well they're functioning. And I know when I go to see you, and, as I say, Dr. Wagner doesn't say a lot, I'll tell you out there, he'll just do all these different things and just be doing, testing different things, and then, writing things down, and just, really being able to see what's going on. And it's so interesting, just, watching you work, whether it be on one of my children or how you work on myself. But I also, I know somebody that actually had a little dog that the vets had, two vets had said, we need to put the dog down. The dog couldn't breathe. And was having such difficulty. And I know that she took the dog to see you, and one session, I mean, that dog was with her a long time and breathing. And even because she's talked about it to me for so long, it happened many years ago. But I just remember, you've saved, I mean, so many animals, and as well, I mean, you really have an extraordinary connection. And it's so interesting to watch how you work. But, from a different point of view, it's also, you really understand, and it's something that I try to share with my people. It's like I say to my clients that, I really want people to feel good, and I want to know that, that they are enough, and they have all of it inside here. But it's just these little tweaks that we have to do just to really help, and you used that word empower a moment ago. It's such an extraordinary thing, and there's no, I mean, vitamins and things can help some people, but it's wonderful to know that, we all really have it in there. And when you understand it yourself, what's going on, and whether it be a past thing or you know, it's so interesting, you know, and it's great for people to understand this rather than feeling like there's something else that's going to fix them, you know, and dare they look inside here, but there's something out there really,
Right.
you know, and especially when it's long term and, you know, I mean, you do things that are very fast. I mean, you fix people very quickly. And I think it's great for people to know and understand this, you know, that, you know, it's an amazing thing. So let me, so Dr. Wagner, I know you do seminars and you also do workshops, and you have online classes, and this is for medical practitioners as well. You're teaching a lot of other, you know, medical, you know, people in your business. Do you also, you know, offer classes, and do you also offer things for someone like myself, an esthetician? Is there classes that, you know, people like myself that we could sit in on? Do you have any online courses, you know, in things that could help us?
Well, that's what I'm working on now. Here's a good example. This, how has the corona affected me? Okay, so
Yes.
it made me understand that I need to do exactly what you just said. Okay, I never even thought of that before, and so all of the corona is causing me to expand and change how am I going to treat people? How am I going to teach them if they can't come in or they can't fly or whatever? And so exactly, I'm changing everything. You know, we have our past, we have the present and the future. Some people's problems are related to the past. Some people's problems are related to the future. What I'm finding is a huge amount of people have issues about the future. Forget the corona. The corona is just activating that, their belief system about the future. Or maybe they're blocked in some way. For me, all of a sudden I realized, well, I treat everybody here. I teach doctors and so forth. But if you're not my patient, there has been almost no teaching to the patients or their friends and so forth. So that's what I'm starting to put together. But
I think that's wonderful.
Again, Corona set that off.
Yeah. Well, I would love to know about you know, I'm always learning. We're always learning and growing, and certainly I have the need to be constantly learning and growing. And I know that a lot of my audience does as well, because, you know, a lot of my audience is international too, estheticians, and you know, they're always asking me, like, you know, what is it that we can do to learn and to understand more about the skin, and how can we help people more? So if there's some classes and things that you're doing online, I know that that would be wonderful for people like myself. I'm, you know, as I said, always interested in learning and growing, and I think what you do is this, you know, such it's so connected to what we do when we're working with the skin, because it's you know, it's all connected. So it's really great. So any classes and things that you have coming, please let us know, because I would love to jump in on that one and do that class. Especially now we're all looking for, you know, for classes and things to be learning. Right. So I think that's really wonderful. I know you have a YouTube channel. And is that, what's the name of your channel? Is it the Wagner
Holistic Center?
Wagner Holistic Center. So people, you guys, you can go on, subscribe to Dr. Wagner's YouTube channel and watch some of the treatments and different things that he's doing on his YouTube, because I know that's something that you're really getting into a lot more now. And just it's been so great having you come on today and share, you know, how you're dealing with people right now. We're you know, a lot of my SD friends, we're doing a lot of virtual, you know, skin consultations, and via phone. In fact, I was speaking to someone in Kuwait last night, or like almost at 2 o'clock this morning. You know, we have people everywhere, and, you know, people needing help with their skin, and just moving forward, and simplifying things. And I think that's something that you know, I love about what you do too, is that, you know, you really make it very obtainable. You know, it's not, you know, it's really, you know, you walk out of there feeling different. You give them the tools to work with at home, if that's, you know, what's needed. And I just know how much you've done, you know, for my family. I mean, I have so many stories. And in fact, I think the first time I went in to see you, I remember you saying to me, "Why are you here?" or something like that. You're in really good shape. And then, of course, you know, years later, I've gone back to you, and you said, you said, "Well, I've not seen you like this. You know, where's the stress? Like, what's going on?" You know, so it's so interesting. And then another time I went to see you, Dr. Wagner, and this is a really interesting thing. And it's interesting because I talk to my viewers a lot about how we come into this world with weakened organs, and from our parents and our grandparents. And I talk. I just, you know, was doing a live with New Beauty a couple of days ago, and I talked about how, you know, what affects one. You could be a smoker, you know, smoking, you know, 100 years and live to be 110, and it never affect you. And there's the non-smoker who's never smoked, that of course dies of lung cancer. And I remember going to see you. You know, studying iridology, which I did many years ago. I've always seen this spot in my iris on my lung area, but it's, and I've watched it, because I've watched it sort of be a brown, and I'm waiting, you know, not that I want to be waiting, but I look to see, you know, if the color changes, and I've always known it's there. And I remember when I went to see you, what you said to me, "Did you ever smoke?" And I said, "No, I've never smoked." And you said to me, "Did your parents smoke?" And I said, "No, no family members ever smoked." And then you said, "Did you live with a smoker?" And I went, "Oh, yes, I did, for 4 years." And you said, and it was so interesting to me at the time, because my irises were really, you know, really clear, and I have a really good constitution. I think growing up on a farm, and not being around a lot of pollution, and just be, you know, my body type was a stronger, you know, body type, in that I've always been very well and healthy. And I remember you saying this to me, and I thought to myself, I have a spot on my, you know, I have a spot on my lung. I know I have a spot on my lung, but you didn't know I have this spot on my lung, you know, but yet you were able to know that my lungs were not my strong point. Okay, so you had given me something for that. And I remember, you know, this, you told me this many years ago, probably 10 years ago. And then I remember going to a regular doctor, you know, just a regular doctor one time, and I just went for something in particular. It wasn't, I don't usually go to doctors, but I don't find the need to, fortunately. But I had gone to him. And I had said, you know, I want to get an X-ray of my lungs. You know, I want to get whatever it's called. Anyway, a scan of my lungs. And he said to me, "Why do you want to get a scan of your lungs?" And I said to him, "I have a spot in my iris that's on my lung, and I need, because it's changing colors a little bit, and I just need to get an X-ray. Can you please give me a prescription, you know, to get an X-ray of my lungs?" And he said to me, "You have a spot in your iris that is on your lung." Like, he said to me, "That makes absolutely no sense." And I said to him, "What do you mean? Haven't you heard of iridology? You know, Bernard Jensen? I mean, this is very well known." And he was like, "Oh, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to give you a, you know, you don't need an X-ray for your lungs. I've checked your lungs. Your lungs are perfectly fine." And I just thought, oh my goodness, this is not the way to go. I've got to figure out another way to go, get a scan of my lungs. But anyway, Dr. Wagner, yeah, no, so funny. You probably don't remember. You know, of all the things you say, I know it's, you know, it's like me when people come in and see me, and you feel things and you see things and you tell them, and then when they come back again, you know, they say, you know, you were right about this, you blah blah blah, you know, and but I just, you know, I'm really grateful that there are people like you out there that more importantly, more than anything, it's that you really want people to be well. And, you know, you're so loving and so nurturing. And for us Estes that are all, you know, we're all, you know, the mothers of the world wanting to help everybody. A lot of us very emotional. A lot of us very nurturing. You know, it's wonderful to know that there are people of your stature too that are really, you know, that feel the same and that want people just to be well. And to know what that feels like. And I mean, even just looking at you and talking to you, I already feel so much better, because, you know, it's such an extraordinary thing, and it's so empowering to feel well. You know, it's just really a wonderful thing. And I just want people to know and understand that you too can all feel this way. You know, it's such an important thing to me, and why I feel that I'm here is really to you know, to help people understand this. It's such an important thing. And so in closing, I you know, is there anything that you would like to say? Anything else that you would like?
Yeah, I think the key to healing is the word awareness.
Yeah.
No matter what the subject, you have to increase your awareness about the possible causes or what you should be doing or changing. So when the doctor just gives you a prescription, or somebody just gives you a simple treatment but with no awareness, it may help, but it's not a true healing. When you expand your awareness, which I've helped you with,
yes,
then everything changes. Your spirit, your mind, your body, your physiology, your hormones, everything changes. And the awareness might be a simple thing, or it might be a highly complicated thing. But that's what I do. I just tell you a quick story, because I do treat animals. My friend had a big horse, thoroughbred, crazy on the trail, dangerous, through 3 professionals. And I tested the horse, and I told the owner, I said, this horse just has a pain right here. Now, that just happened to be that person makes saddles. So he understood what I was saying, and he thought, oh my gosh, the saddle that everybody has been using is putting too much pressure per square inch on this horse, that he needs a broader distribution of weight. So I said, that's probably it, because there's nothing else wrong with this horse. So then that horse, a new saddle was made for him. Absolutely a different horse. And somehow that horse ended up maybe knowing that I was the one, because that horse has fallen in love with me, and now that horse is mine, and he rides literally perfect. And he never is a problem. He's almost like a dog to me, and yet he ruined 3 professionals. And
wow.
so I now ride 3 times a week. But the point is, it was awareness that fixed him. It wasn't a particular move. For instance, when you were talking about the chin and the breakouts, that's almost always an estrogen problem, whether it's due to the mind, the emotions, the fear, eating certain foods, the ovaries, or whatever you want to say. It's an estrogen problem. And so when we figure out the awareness of the problem, it disappears. So it always comes down to that. And
no, you know, it's interesting, and what's wonderful is, for, you know, like you said, it's awareness. It's expanding people's mind to just go out of the box a little bit, and just to understand that there are so many things that can come into play. Please do some courses, some online courses for us Estes. We are, you know, the people out there that really you know, want to take care of people's skin long term. We are looking for long term but also, you know, to broaden our mind, to help get results for people. People want to see results, but please do some workshops. I mean, I would so love to, you know, to join in on those. That would just be fantastic, and watch what you do and learn and grow on that level that you work. And it's been so wonderful having you here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know
Thank you for having me.
you're super busy, and I really appreciate everything that you've done for me and my family, and also everything that you do for other people. It, you know, you're an extraordinary man, and I'm just very grateful that I have met you, and that you're close close to home for me, which is fantastic. And just thank you so much for today and sharing with us your amazing knowledge. And thank you.
Thank you, Nerida.
Yeah, great. Well, I'll see you soon. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us here today, and Dr. Wagner. And we'll be back with more soon. So thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.